Hey everyone, I'm Josh Loftus, and this is the Everyday Monday podcast, the podcast where we talk about everyday people doing everyday things in everyday churches. Whether you're a pastor, a plumber, or that person that thinks Axe body spray is an equivalent to showering, this podcast is for you. This is where we find value in the trenches of Christian life. Welcome to Everyday Monday. And in the trenches with me this morning, I have a very special guest. He's an artist and the owner of RefToons, or RefToons, as it is on social media, Mr. Paul Cox. Paul, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. I appreciate you being on the podcast with me. And before we get going, I want you to explain to our listeners, perhaps who haven't seen it or know of it yet, what is RefToons? Is it like Looney Tunes?
Well, it's like Looney Tunes for like reformed folk.
There we go.
No,
There we go.
well, the name RefTunes, I don't know, when I made that name, it was just kind of like I was thinking about the Reformation, I was thinking about Reformed theology, so I just figured RefTunes. I wanted to make cartoons out of the people from church history. And so I created it just kind of to bring life to a different kind of life to the old dead guys and
Yeah.
illustrate some of their quotes and stuff.
Yeah. Well, you've done them all, man. You've done Spurgeon, Calvin, Edwards, John Knox, uh, like Luther. Like I don't think there's any dead reform guy you have not done a sketch on.
Well, there probably is, but I've done a lot of them. Yeah.
Well, and you don't just do reform guys too. Like you've done stuff from Pilgrim's Progress. I've seen some of that on there. You've done just kind of other kind of mainstream Christian Christian books and stories, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to get more into. I'm continuing to do the quotes and stuff from the
Mhm.
old dead guys, but I'm wanting to get more into like stories and stuff, and so I picked up Pilgrim's Progress, which is in the public domain, and kind of my wife and I rewrote that as a like a 32-page children's poem for like a
Nice.
children's book, um, which is going to be coming out through H&E Publishing.
Okay. All right. Any idea when that's going to be out? Are you still working on the artwork? Are you guys working on
We're
the
still working on the formatting
Okay.
and getting all the details squared away, but
Right on. All right. Well, that's exciting, guys. And we'll do another plug at the end here. But in all honesty, I love RefToons. RefToons is so much fun, fantastic artwork, really cool quotes. Like you always pick the best quote too, man. Like I don't know how you do it. It must just be hours of research, just like finding the perfect quote. And how does that work? Like, do you draw the picture first, and then you're like, okay, I want to find a quote for this, or do you see a really good quote and you're like, okay, I need to illustrate this in some way? What's the order for you?
well, no, yeah, it always comes with the quote first, and then I'll draw it. So
Okay.
I'll be reading, like sometimes it comes from what I'm reading at the time, or if I'm just looking for quotes that evoke a certain image in my head, I'll use those, and but I try to use things that will be helpful to people and not
Mm,
just bada bam, bada boom.
right.
Here's this
Right.
crazy saying from this guy that's gonna cause a lot of ruckus and reaction.
Right.
But I want people to at least get some sort of help out of it, I
Yeah.
guess. But
Well, no, you totally succeed in that, man. Yeah, I've always been encouraged every time you put out a new sketch. I'm always excited. So Paul, before we kind of just jump into our main topic for the podcast, we've already talked about RefTunes a little bit, but tell us a little bit more about you, just kind of who you are and maybe how you got into RefTunes, just kind of who you are as a person, man.
all right, yeah, I'm married. We've been married for about 14 years. We're coming up on 14 years, I
All
think.
right.
Yes. um,
better better double check before
right,
you
right.
stamp that,
Let's
right?
see. Do the math here. I'm an
That's right.
artist, not a mathematician.
There you go. It's all right. It's all right.
We have 4 kids. Uh, Oldest is 9, youngest is 3. We have 4
Oh, wow.
chickens, and we just acquired 1 cat
Oh
yesterday.
my goodness. So which keeps you more busy, the 4 chickens or the 4 cats, or does it depend on the day?
The 4 kids.
Or
The
4
4
kids,
kids,
excuse me,
yeah.
excuse me. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
which keeps you more busy?
they definitely keep us on our toes.
Yeah.
Chickens are easy. I never thought I'd have chickens, but they're easy. You
Well,
just
you're in Wisconsin, man, like, you
right,
kinda have to, right?
right, yeah, it's part of the culture here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So is RefTunes your full-time job? Is or artist work? Are you doing freelance stuff as well? Like, how'd you get into being an artist, man?
Um, well, I've been drawing since I was 3, and, I've always like, when I was younger, I said people would ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I said, "I wanna be a cartoonist and work for Looney Tunes or work for Warner Brothers drawing Looney Tunes."
Yeah.
That never happened, but, uh, but I guess I kinda made myself a cartoonist or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
I followed that path that I wanted to go. So I went to school for art. I didn't really know what to do, um, as far as a job after school. So I just kind of I I just I I just kind of fell into different positions, and when I was laid off from a job in 2009, just before our son was born,
Mm,
I kinda got pushed into freelancing. I found like, a couple jobs on, like, Craigslist, which is
mhm.
weird, um, and I realized from there that I could do art from home for a living, just doing stuff for other people on the internet.
Yeah.
And so from there, it kind of snowballed into a full-time freelance illustration career. So I do freelance illustration full-time. RefTunes is a side project, um, that has recently been able to get me, like, some little extra income, uh,
Nice.
which has been nice. So, yeah, that's how I got into that.
So cool. So cool. So being a freelance artist, you're obviously self-employed. So
Right.
that's hard. So what is being a freelance artist, what is on both sides of the spectrum, both just kind of the best part of that job for you? What's your favorite part of that job? And then what's the part that is really difficult for you?
Mm. The best part is that I get to stay home and make my own hours,
Mhm,
basically.
mhm.
Sometimes I'm limited in my hours just depending on when a project is due, but for the most part, I get to kinda be free to come and go as I please,
Yeah.
which has been really nice, um, for taking little trips here and there. The hardest part is also probably staying home and making my own hours because,
Yeah.
uh
We are our own worst enemy, aren't we?
yeah, because distractions, like, there's so many distractions throughout the day. Kids need something because we homeschool, and,
Wow, good for you.
kids will need something, chickens will need something. Gotta
That's right.
mow the lawn or something, something always comes up, um, and also sometimes I have to draw really boring things for people, for some of my clients. So that, uh, that's another hard part, but
Well, I wanna ask you what is the most boring thing you've ever written, but that's probably not gonna be good in the public sphere. Well, maybe off the air.
right, right.
But yeah. So, oh, that's awesome, man. So, give us just kind of the quick synopsis of, your testimony as a Christian, how you came to Christ. I don't know if it was a gradual thing or if it was something that you kinda had the eyes opened moment, right, as some people do. Just kinda
Right.
walk us through how you came to Christ, Paul.
Alright, yeah, I don't really have a dramatic story of coming to Christ. I was raised in a Christian home,
Mhm.
with a kind of a persistent importance laid on believing in God and going to church, and as I grew older, it was just something I believed. I believed in that in Christ, that he was God's son, he was came to
Mhm.
died for my sins, and as
Right.
just through, consistent teaching at church and at home, um, I feel like I kinda grew into it, like God was drawing me all throughout my childhood and into my
Mhm.
teen years when I really had a yearning to go deeper into scripture and find in-depth Bible teaching.
Sure.
Um,
Sure. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it is, yeah, I talk to a lot of people just from a lot of different backgrounds, and it's always cool hearing the different stories. And And I always hear people say, "Yeah, I don't really have a dramatic story," or it's not that important," and it's I always very quickly clarify, it's like, but it's still awesome that you were raised in a Christian home, right?
Right,
Like, I mean, I hear all the people that have these big dramatic, like, yeah, I was saved at 21 in a in a psych ward, and I was up on meds, and just this amazing story. um but so many of them wish that they were raised in a Christian home,
right.
and was such a blessing, you as a father raising and homeschooling four kids.
Mhm,
What a blessing that is for your kids to be like raised in that, and how
right,
important that is, especially in the society that we're in today, for sure,
mhm,
right?
right. It's hard to see that at times, because there's times you just wanna
That's right.
but,
Why can't you be more like the chickens? They don't
right,
need
right,
anything.
right.
Oh, that's right, man. So hey, Paul, transitioning a little bit into church life. Give us just where you go to church out there in Wisconsin, and then what is one aspect of your church that you really, really appreciate and value?
So we got kind of a weird church story. I won't get into all of it, but right now
No problem.
we've been going to the church we're at right now for almost a year. It'll be a year in June.
Hmm.
We go to River Hills Community Church here in Janesville.
Okay.
The reason we came to this particular church is because of the in-depth expository preaching
Yeah.
that they practice, which
Yeah.
is something that we did not have at any of our other churches. It was all um, very surface level,
Hmm.
um, topical. We didn't really there. It wasn't really encouraged to get in depth and study your Bible.
Yeah.
Um, so here we are. Um, one of the first things that our pastor said to us in this newcomers class that we had was
Hmm.
that he's going to challenge us to become an expert in one of the books of the Bible, just as kind of a way of
Okay.
getting in, digging deep into the Word.
All
Um,
right. Now, does he let you choose which book of the Bible that is, or does he assign that to you based on what he
no,
thinks you
no,
need?
it's whatever.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, so we really enjoyed the expository preaching,
Yeah.
and as well as the elder leadership
Yeah.
has been a big change for us. Um, and so the church really does whatever they can to help you along in your walk with Christ and your parenting and just in your life in general.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of organic how everything works in this church. It's really cool.
That's great. That's great. So I realize you've only been going there a year, so sometimes there's
Right.
that kind of in between period where you're getting to know people, they're getting to know to you. Some churches won't give you like the reins of a ministry right away. I totally understand that. But there's subtle ways that you can interact and be part of a church in that way. What are
Yeah.
those ways for you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we haven't been there very long, and most of the time has been spent just trying to figure out the ropes and
Mhm. Right.
getting to know people, which has been uh, I feel like it's been like really easy getting to know people here.
That's
People are
great.
just so willing because so our church does not have children's ministries.
Okay.
It's a intergenerational church,
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
which is
Yeah.
something we are absolutely not used to at all. and
You're used to, like, after the second song, the kids go bye-bye, right? Yeah.
Actually, we were used to you send the kids downstairs first, and then you go into church.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness,
so
even
it
more,
was
okay.
even
Alright,
more
got it.
extreme. So we're going from one extreme to another extreme,
Yeah, yeah,
of having no kids in the service to having all the kids in the service.
right.
But, so so there's things that we've been trying to get used to, which has been good, but as far as service in the church, I've recently well, not anymore because it's summer, but I was able to help out with snow removal and,
Nice.
just I don't know, it's you don't think of these things as, like, super important ministry, but it's something that needs to be done, and so I helped out
Well
and did it, and
well, exactly, dude, but honestly, that is the point of this podcast,
right.
is that, yes, yeah, you wouldn't most people wouldn't see snow removal as important, and that's a problem.
Mm.
right? Because if you weren't doing that, there would not be people who would be able to get into the church,
Right.
and it would be a huge deterrent for people to come in, right? So even those little things, and you kind of touched on, like, we could wrap up and be done now. Like, yes, it's important. Removing snow is important. Folding bulletins is important,
Right.
right? Those little acts of
Mhm.
service are how we show love and involvement and care for our brothers and sisters in church, right?
Right. Yeah, and then there's yeah, so since they don't have children's ministries, they have, um, they do have a thing called the Next Generation Discipleship Team,
Mhm.
where, uh, it's it's a ministry where they, um, try and organize activities to get the younger and older generations mingling and interacting together,
Mm.
um, and it's they do that they were doing it like every fifth Sunday after church. We'd do like some games or something. They do like a big church-wide Uno tournament to get everybody together, and just the concept of the older teaching the younger,
Yeah.
um, and that. So my wife is starting to get involved in that ministry as well, and I was recently asked to help out with the counting after the service for the offering and everything. So we're
All right.
slowly getting involved and
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic, man. That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you guys are you're doing great. You're doing it how it's supposed to be done. That's awesome. Just slowly getting involved in service there. Um, so when we talk about service, Paul, and we talk about work, whether it's in the church or whether it's as a freelance artist, right? When you think about work in general, how would you say the Christian brings God glory in their work and in their service? How do you, writing those really boring, doing art for really boring projects, right? How do you bring God glory even in that scenario?
well, I just I guess like Martin Luther said, a Christian shoemaker doesn't put little crosses on the shoes. He just makes really good shoes. So we just do a good job at what you're doing. I mean, God's given you this job to do, whether you like it or not.
Mm,
Do it um, as best as you can. Um, give God the glory for that, you know?
yeah.
I don't know. I guess that's all I would say. I don't
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
well, no, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that is the answer, is and I've actually said that quote before on the podcast. I'm really
oh, really?
glad you brought it up because, yeah, it's true. I think we often put so much stock into, well, I'm only bringing God glory if I do this, right? And it's a very narrow view of work, right? And it usually doesn't involve shoveling snow or or plumbing or accounting, whatever it is.
Right,
um
all of life is glorifying God. What is the chief end of man? To, glorify God and enjoy him forever, We glorify God in shoveling the driveway, mowing the lawn, taking care of our chickens,
yeah.
um, raising our children.
Yeah, no, exactly, exactly. So how would you go about, helping somebody who comes up to you and says, "Paul, I don't understand how what I'm doing has any value," right? Say they're in church, right? Let's bring it into the church sphere here, just because that's what the podcast is mainly about. Say they say, "Paul, I don't see how shoveling snow is valuable. I don't see like how I'm actually out here doing any good," right? What would be just be something that you would tell that person as just kind of a form of encouragement to kind of maybe perhaps help them reorient their thinking a little bit into what service actually looks like?
Oh man, that's a good question. Um, so how would we tell someone or give someone encouragement on like whether what they're doing is important?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, or maybe bring it into your share. Say they're working at a church and they're making graphics for the church, like, announcements,
okay.
right? And they're like, "I don't see how this is important. I don't see how this is actually, like, serving in church," right?
Right, right.
How would you go about just kinda helping them
Well,
see that, "No, no, 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 that is important." Like,
right,
that's
right.
right?
Well, for one thing, you're helping. Okay, here's one thing, let's go back to shoveling.
Okay, yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah.
shoveling the paths, um, one aspect, and this could be a stretch, I don't know, but one thing, like, people coming to church in the morning, a lot of times are not in the greatest of moods.
It is true.
And so one thing to lighten their mood and not have them be in such a well, and not have them have one more thing to be mad about is to have a
Mhm.
shoveled sidewalk maybe, you know?
Yeah,
You may be helping someone to not sin
right,
by shoveling the sidewalk. You don't know. Plus, there's snow on the sidewalk. People don't wanna walk in snow, so you gotta shovel it. Someone's gotta do it.
right, right, exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
if
yeah,
that
exactly.
makes
It's
sense or if that
no,
is
yeah, no, man, it totally does. It's kind of just reorienting the mind a little bit to like, look, we are here not to get some sort of like gratification
right.
out of what we do, but it's to serve others,
Right,
right?
you're
Right?
serving your brothers and sisters in that way.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So when you think about perhaps good and bad reasons to serve in church, right? There's always motivations that
Right,
we have in everything we do. What would you say on both sides of the spectrum there? What are some good reasons to get plugged in and want to really serve in church? And then on the flip side, if somebody has this motivation for serving in church, this could be bad, right? Right. What do you think those good and bad motivations are for serving, for getting plugged into church?
right. Well, first of all, the good motivations, like we just talked about, is, just helping out your brothers and sisters, um,
Right.
serving them, you're practicing, self-sacrifice, uh, which is what Christ calls us to do.
Hmm.
Um, you're loving your neighbor. Um,
Hmm.
so the bad motivations would be something like, well, this is just counting towards my good works or something, or this is
Oh yeah.
just something um, that I have to do because I'm a Christian, so I'm just gonna do it, rather than doing it because you love your brothers and sisters, because you love God. You're doing it because you just feel like it's um, something that you gotta check off and whatever.
Right. Right. Yeah, yeah, any type of box checking, right,
Right.
is usually not a good motivation.
Well, I loved my wife today. Check. Next.
Yeah, there we go, there we go. Don't have to do that for the
Don't
rest of the day, right?
right.
Check. Oh my gosh. Um, so Paul, it when, just talking about service and the good and bad motivations of it, it's the Christians that I see that are self-sacrificing themselves every single day, or and I see them serving diligently every Sunday. Those are the Christians that really that I value, that I admire. The ones that aren't in the spotlight, the ones that aren't doing it for the fame, that are doing it because they love me, right, and love the people around them. Those are the people that inspire me to to basically do that, right? To make myself a person that is loving self-sacrificially like that. So when you, Paul, think about Christians that inspire you to uh, follow Christ harder and faster than you do now, right? To basically Christians around you that are either around you right now, Christians perhaps that you've read or listened to, whatever the case. Who are those Christians for you, and what are the traits that they possess that really encourage you to be more like Christ?
For me, it's the same thing. Just the ones that are showing the self-sacrificial love for one another. Especially like I'm terrible at self-sacrifice, especially like for my wife, for my kids.
Mm,
I want to do my own thing a lot of times, and I have to be brought back down
right.
and when I see other husbands loving their wives, giving themselves up as Christ did for the church, um,
Mhm.
that's what really inspires me and makes me feel bad about myself. And to
And then points us to Christ,
right,
right?
points us to Christ. Um,
Yeah.
so that's it's kind of the same thing, just the people who I see who are not worried about, um, their own glory, but God's glory.
Yeah. Amen to that. Yep. Yep. Yeah. One of these days I'll make it. We'll make it one of these days. Well, Paul, we are almost out of here, man. But before we do, it's time for the Monday hot takes. And this is my favorite part of the podcast because this is when I ask you a bunch of random questions and you tell me the first thing that pops into your head. You ready
Alright,
for these?
I think so.
All right, let's do it. All right, we're gonna start off kind of easy here. All right.
Alright.
Favorite band or musical artist?
Oh, that changes all the time.
That's fair.
Right
That's fair. What is it right now?
right now, cake.
Cake. I did not see that coming.
I don't know, I they're really easy to draw to.
Okay. All right. Oh, that's true.
Nice
Oh, okay.
background music, and
Yes. So offshoot question. When you're drawing, yeah, like when I'm writing or reading, I love stuff in the background. Like, are you a soundtrack guy? Do you like movie soundtracks? Are you more like atmospheric kind of guy? Like,
it
what's normally on?
oh, right, it depends on what I'm drawing, like, if
Yes.
I'm in, like, wanting to draw, like, some fantasy adventure stuff, I'll throw in some Lord of the Rings or Star Wars
There you
soundtrack,
go.
or, but most of the time when I'm working on client work, I'll just throw on podcasts or YouTube videos.
Right on. Right on.
Usually it's like The Dividing Line or something.
Yes. Yep. Very, very cool. Let's see. All right. What's something about current Christian culture that is annoying to you?
Oh, there's so much.
Yeah. Nail me with one, man. Let's do it.
Alright, the attractional model of doing church.
Oh, okay. The smoke machines, big
Right,
lights, concerts,
yeah.
skinny jeans, nice hair,
I don't care about the skinny jeans, that's just
big
style.
biceps. Yeah, sure. I'm in the Pacific Northwest. I care very much about the skinny
Okay,
jeans. They need to go.
alright, yeah.
They need to
Visually,
go.
that's yeah, okay.
Yeah, visually, I can't do it. I just can't. Oh, man. Okay. Let's see. Paul, if you could disinvent
Dis
one thing, what would it be?
oh, disinvent one thing.
Mhm.
Uh, wow. N How is this a just top of your head question?
Well, it's not off the top of my head. I have a list here that I'm
Right,
going off
I
of.
mean,
It's
like
top of
I mean,
your
like,
head, right?
how are you supposed to let's see, I'm looking around. Appreciate
How about that work like, for me, one of them is that it's yeah, you've probably seen 'em on the infomercials. It's those, like, workout shakers that you, like, hold with both hands and you
the
shake
shake.
really awkwardly. Yeah, the shake weight.
Yes.
Please tell me you don't have a shake
No,
weight.
no, no, yeah, that would, yeah, that's one that could go.
That needs to
That
go,
needs
like,
to go.
that needed to go before it was a thing, like,
Right.
that needed to be stopped on the table.
I don't know who approved of that,
Yeah.
but,
Uh, alright, Paul. What is the one situation or place where you would find yourself most out of place in?
growing up or not growing up, like, going to, like, art school, my most out of place is, like, in an art gallery. That's what I
Really?
can
Like
think of because I'm just like, some of this abstract stuff, like, I don't know what
like a white
a
canvas with,
white
like, a
yeah,
black dot?
I went
Like
we went to the Milwaukee Art Museum, there was just a white canvas, and it was titled something, like, white something, I don't know,
like,
and
that's
I was just
it.
like,
Somebody
"Seriously?"
if I
I
if this is all you have to do, then we're you're
yeah,
working too hard, right?
yeah, I don't I have not yeah, I don't know, I find myself out of place in the art scene, like the art
Alright.
gallery scene. So
Alright. 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 Well, you're as an artist, that's I don't know if that's good or that's bad, right?
well
I
well,
don't
I'm yeah, I like illustrations, and I've
There we go.
I've had conversations with people where they don't consider illustration to be an art form, and
Oh, please
commercialized and
get out of here. Okay. Let's see. What is one of the craziest or most out of character things you've ever done
hmm.
besides going to an art museum?
Oh, introducing myself to someone I don't know.
Well, dude, I like you wouldn't know. Like we met at the Doc and Devo conference just a couple weeks ago, and
Right.
it was great. It wasn't weird.
Yeah, I know. I've gotten over that. I used to be terrible, like, just frightened of any kind of social interaction, but I'm
Yeah,
I'm growing. Baby
there
steps.
you go. There you go. Let's see. Okay, what is one trend that has died out that you'd love to see come back?
Oh, a trend. I don't follow the trends, but,
Mullets.
mullets. No. What are they called? Beach pants or something? I used to
Beach
beach
pants.
pants, they're like
Those
they're
are the short, tight ones that
no,
go up to like.
they're like the baggy ones that have, like, the elastic down at the bottom. I used
Oh
to have all
yes.
kinds of pairs of those when I was a kid, back in the '90s.
Oh, the '90s, man. The
Ocean
'90s.
Pacific, I think, was the brand.
Oh man, dude, bring back the '90s,
You're
man. The
right,
'90s were great.
anything from the '90s. Crisscross,
Anything.
their clothes on backwards, and
Yes. Oh, crisscross. That's right,
they'll make you
dude. I
wanna
for
jump.
those two little kids like quotes rapped, right?
They had their clothes on all backwards, and crisscross
That's
make you wanna jump, jump.
that's
And
right.
I had a T-shirt that had Bugs Bunny and Taz on it, and they were
Yeah.
standing there, like, with their arms crossed, and they had their clothes on backwards, their hair was dreaded coming out of their baseball cap, and on the back, it had, like, the back of them. The
Oh man. Crisscross. Oh man. See, like, oh man, and overalls, right? Overalls with the shirt
Right.
tucked out. Oh, good stuff. Okay, hey, Paul, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, uh, favorite movie? There's so many of them.
Yeah.
Again, these are tough questions. Uh, for a while, it was wait, what was it called? I forgot the name of my favorite movie.
Oh wow.
It was for a while, it was Unbreakable with, Bruce Willis, and is that what it's called?
Oh yes, yeah. The M Night Shyamalan one.
Yeah, that one, that one.
Yeah,
That was, like, I thought that one was really good. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
but
I haven't
but
seen that one. I've heard it's good.
I'd say all-time favorite is probably Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes
So
Back. All right, there you go. There you go. Going old school. I love it.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. The next question was going to be Star Wars or Star Trek, but I'm pretty sure you just answered that.
Yeah,
So,
Star Wars.
yep, yep. Let's see. Okay, if you could do one thing over at your wedding, what would it be?
Uh,
We all have like something, even if it's small.
let's see. I would just go to the courthouse and get married. Get it over with. It's
Just
too
get it done. Oh man, that's funny. All right. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Well, I don't do karaoke, but if I did, it
Yeah.
would be, I don't know what the name is, so I'll just sing it for you.
Go for it.
You
Go for
can
it.
dance if you want to, you can leave your
Oh,
friends behind.
yes. If your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, they're no friends of mine.
Yeah,
Yes, that's right. I forget what that's.
I don't even know what
I
it
I,
is.
I think it's just called Dance,
Yeah,
or You Can Dance If You Want to,
I know
right?
the music video has, like, some people frolicking in fields and stuff.
Frolicking in fields. So it's either 80s or it's modern day praise worship, right?
Right.
One of the two. Oh man. Well, Paul, we have come to the end of the podcast, man. I really appreciate you being on. It was so much fun. Before we go, give a quick promo of where people can find your stuff, man.
Right. You can find RefTunes at reftunes.com. You can also find it on Facebook if you just search RefTunes. I'm on Twitter at RefTunes and Instagram at RefTunes. That's all just for RefTunes. If you want to follow my personal illustration stuff, it's on Twitter and Instagram. It's at Paul Cox Draws, and you can find me under Paul Cox Illustration on Facebook and
Right on.
paulcoxillustration.com.
Right on. Yep. Fantastic. People, yes, please go check RefToons out. They are I can't recommend them highly enough. So much fun. Really, really cool stuff. As you guys know, you can head on over to iTunes and leave a raving review, a 5-star rating. We really appreciate that. It gets the podcast out to more people if you guys do that for us. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Music, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher. Wherever you find your podcast, we are there. You can head on over to facebook.com/everydayamondaypodcast or Instagram at everydayamondaypod. Yes, we have Instagram. We are part of the 2019 crowd. Finally, guys, thanks for joining us in the trenches today. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks again to my guest, Paul Cox, for being on, and we will catch you on the next ep of Every Day a Monday.